has shifted from a passive form of entertainment into a highly interactive cultural phenomenon. While the rise of podcasts played a central role, the transformation of the true crime genre reflects bigger changes in media structures, how stories are produced, distributed, and engaged with by audiences. These media changes reshape true crime scope, tone, and social significance. The medium of podcasting, as explored in When Podcasts Met True Crime, altered the media landscape in a way that uniquely favored true crime. Because podcasts avoid the gatekeeping of traditional introductions, like popular TV networks or major publishers, creators gain freedom to explore stories that mainstream media might consider too dark, marginal, or niche. This flexibility allowed true crime to expand both in quantity and diversity. Moreover, true crime podcasts operate outside of strict constraints of broadcast time or print space. The long-form, serialized, on-demand format lets creators dive deep into cases, offering nuance, background context, and possibly follow-ups over time. This format turns crime storytelling into a sustained investigation rather than surface-level drama like most popular networks or publishers might put out there. Most significantly, true crime podcasts now often come with a digital community. Websites, social media pages, online forums. There's everything that people can get into with this genre. As shown in true crime podcasting as participatory journalism, these forums enable listeners not just to consume, but to collaborate, share documents, photos, tips, and speculations, discussing leads, and sometimes even work with the victims' families. This structural integration of social media and digital tools transforms true crime into a participatory, crowd-driven enterprise. The shift also reshaped who gets represented. Cases involving individuals from marginalized or neglected communities, people who might never get coverage from mainstream news or entertainment, now receive attention, empathy, and sometimes real-world impact. Podcasts have opened up a space for stories and victims that traditional media might ignore, changing how society encounters true crime, injustice, and identity. Together, these media changes lowered gatekeeping, long-form serialized format, digital community infrastructure, and inclusion of marginalized voices, helped transform true crime from a passive entertainment genre into participatory cultural phenomenon. Today's true crime listeners don't just listen, they research, theorize, amplify, collaborate, and sometimes even help drive real investigations.
True crime as a genre has taken many various forms in media, including literature, such as magazines, books, or in the form of radio-like podcasts. Now you're probably wondering, how do people formulate such a dark and gruesome topic for entertainment? True crime can usually be structured in a way as an anthology of stories, focusing on different cases or covering a single case in a serialized format. This way, it keeps the audience hooked and feeling a need to follow and keep track of the cases. In this way, they feel involved, sort of like they're solving the case along with the detective. Now, this gets into what I want to talk about in the true crime genre. What I believe has people so hooked on this genre is morbid curiosity. Morbid curiosity is the focus on death, violence, and any other event that has been caused through harm physically, emotionally, or even psychologically. In a study done by Susan Oswejik, a professor at a University of Amsterdam, she showed that people will choose engagement with intense negative social images over engagement with more graphic and neutral images. This study underlined that people are curious, especially curious about dangerous risks originating from other people. You can see this when people watch videos where they get their heads blown off, or people are getting kidnapped or beaten or tortured, and various other stuff you see on the internet. A lot of people tend to be attracted to these things because of their morbid curiosity. Morbid curiosity is used to bring people to be more hooked on gruesome things that you see on the internet. For true crime shows and documentaries, they get major cases and break them up into multiple episodes. Or for podcasts, well, they're all the same thing, multiple episodes. This causes the viewer to not really get a resolution from the episodes of a major case, and having to wait for the major cases to come to a conclusion at a certain, like a last episode or something like that. This causes the viewer or the audience to one, get very hooked onto these shows, but two, also, they start to recognize patterns and start to kind of like look at clues to try to solve the case on their own. Now, getting into this, they feel like as if it's their civic duty. Some people feel like it's their civic duty to do this, to try to solve the cases on their own. Others usually do it because they don't really have the patience to get to the resolution or the conclusion of the case. And others, they may be thinking this, but this is just a part of their brains recognizing patterns and trying to make correlations to try to understand what might the resolution be. So in a sense, this is a form of morbid curiosity. But in doing so, if looking for patterns, such as for a serial killer's case, if they see that they are acting this way or doing this kind of mannerisms or noticing all of these little things, this leads to people to be paranoid because they're watching so many negative and dark cases or just stories. It being in such a negative environment can lead to people to be so anxious and nervous and scared and so depressed that they end up becoming paranoid. These are the kind of things that true crime can do to someone's psyche. It can be good to be aware, but it can be bad to get to the point of paranoia. Morbid curiosity can be a good thing in many ways, such as being aware and being careful and cautious.
Serial, a 2014 podcast spin-off derived from WBEZ Chicago's once largely popular radio show, This American Life, revisits the state of Maryland's decision in the case against Adnan Syed. On February 9th, 1999, after weeks of being missing, Heyman Lee, a student at Woodlawn High School, was found dead at Leakin Park in Baltimore. Autopsy results displayed that the young girl's cause of death was strangulation. Quickly, anonymous callers tipped off the police to look into Adnan Syed, Lee's ex-boyfriend, as a potential suspect. However, as the case began to grow, the state's main testimony against Adnan was built almost solely off of a story painted by Jay Wilds, a friend of both Adnan and Hay, who claimed Adnan had been the one to murder her. Wilds also stated he had hesitantly helped Adnan bury her body in Leakin Park. Despite his insistent depiction of the story behind Hay's death, Jay's timeline had many flaws, and concrete evidence that linked Adnan to the murder were lacking. Serial worked to investigate these flaws, taking viewers through a series of episodes trying to solve once and for all if Syed really was responsible. The podcast narrator and creator, Sarah Koenig, originally came across this case when a lawyer, who's also a friend of Adnan's, brought his story to her, believing that he was wrongfully convicted due to a lack of evidence against him. Not long after its release, the podcast began to rapidly grasp the attention of many, reaching 5 million downloads in record time. By Christmas of that same year, its downloads had accumulated to over 40 million, making it one of the first examples of the drastic and sudden virality of true crime media. Continuing to surpass many other podcasts and radio shows, Serial was a major factor in Koenig's success, earning her a spot in Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People in the World for 2015. When questioned about the success of their podcast, producers stated, "We're not really formatted like other radio shows at all. Instead, we do these stories that are like movies for radio." However, besides the effort, precision, and thought-driven production behind it, what propelled Serial to the top of the charts? Although there are many factors, the main one is simple, and is one of the reasons as to why true crime as a whole has been on the rise. Serial gives its viewers a sense of participation, as well as being journalists themselves, allowing them to solve the case as Koenig lays it out. Serial's utilization of transmedia devices only reinforces participation more. Along with the podcast itself, Serial's website includes visual aids such as interactive maps relating to the case, as well as letters written between those the case involves. Additionally, it contains call logs vital to how the case plays out. This kind of transmedia storytelling only hooks viewers in more and more, making it seem as if they're truly partaking in Koenig's investigation themselves. Coincidingly, the rise of other multimedia platforms at the time, such as social media, allowed the story to spread like wildfire, With how each form influences and interacts with one another, individuals can consume more, extending the narrative engagement even further than before, as many true crime stories do. Moreover, with Koenig directly addressing the audience throughout each episode, along with her personal insight, the parasocial nature of the podcast creates intimacy with its viewers. True crime stories as a whole oftentimes also give viewers a sense of revelation as a case concludes. Splitting up each portion of the case or serializing it creates suspense, tension, leaving a product that is more emotionally engaging. Who wouldn't be on the edge of their seat, binging the whole series in a few days' time? Ultimately, Serial eventually brought massive attention to Adnan's case, leading him to gain a reduced sentence and be released from prison after many realized the lack of thoroughness in his trial, showing just how influential our media choices can be on a broader spectrum.